1. The Scratching in the Walls by David Chen. I never believed in the paranormal until I moved into my grandmother's old house last winter. The real estate agent mentioned the basement had some character, but nothing could have prepared me for what I discovered down there. It started with scratching sounds coming from inside the walls, not mice or rats, but something much more deliberate and rhythmic. The scratching always happened at exactly 3:17 a.m. I timed it for weeks. It would start as gentle scraping, like fingernails dragging across concrete from the inside. Then it would grow more frantic, more desperate. I convinced myself it was just old pipes or settling foundation. But deep down, I knew better. The sound moved along the walls, following a specific path from the northeast corner to the old coal chute. One night, I decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight and a hammer, I followed the scratching to its source. Behind an old bookshelf, I found loose bricks in the wall. When I pried them away, a putrid smell hit me immediately. Inside the hidden space, I discovered something that made my blood freeze. Dozens of scratch marks carved deep into the concrete, and nestled among them, a child's shoe from the 1940s. The scratching stopped after that night, but sometimes I still hear something else. A faint whimpering that echoes through the walls. I've never investigated further, and I never will. Some secrets are better left buried. Story 2. The Basement Tenant by Jennifer Rodriguez. When I inherited my uncle's house, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a finished basement I could rent out for extra income. The previous tenant had left suddenly, according to the neighbors, but they wouldn't elaborate on why. I should have pressed them for details, because what I discovered in that basement still haunts my dreams. The basement was fully furnished when I took possession. Furniture, personal items, even food in the refrigerator. Everything suggested someone was still living there. I called out, thinking maybe the tenant hadn't gotten the eviction notice, but no one answered. The strange part was how lived-in everything looked. There was a half-eaten sandwich on the counter, still fresh. A newspaper dated from that morning sat open on the coffee table. I decided to stay the night to sort through everything. Around midnight, I heard footsteps upstairs in the main house. Slow, deliberate pacing across the hardwood floors. But I had locked all the doors, and I was the only one with keys. I grabbed a baseball bat and crept upstairs, my heart pounding. Every room was empty, but I could smell cigarette smoke lingering in the air. My uncle had been a non-smoker his entire life. I spent the rest of the night researching the property's history online. What I found made my skin crawl. The previous tenant had died in that basement 3 months ago. Natural causes, the report said. But according to the neighbors I finally contacted, his body wasn't discovered for weeks. The smell had been unbearable. I moved out the next morning and never returned. The house still sits empty to this day. Story 3. The Photography Project by Marcus Thompson. My photography professor assigned us a project to document forgotten spaces around campus. Being a night owl, I chose to work in the basement darkroom of the old arts building after hours. The building had been mostly abandoned since the new facility opened, but they kept the darkroom functional for students like me who preferred traditional film processing over digital. The first few nights went smoothly. I'd photographed empty hallways, abandoned classrooms, and forgotten storage rooms. But when I developed the film from the basement archives, I noticed something disturbing in several shots. In the background of what should have been empty rooms, there were shadowy figures, human-shaped but indistinct, as if they were moving when the shutter clicked. I assumed it was just double exposure or light leaks in my camera. But then I started hearing things while working alone down there. Footsteps in the hallway outside, doors creaking open and shut, even muffled conversations in rooms I knew were locked. The worst part was the feeling of being watched. I'd catch movement in my peripheral vision, but when I'd turn around, nothing would be there. Still, I continued working. I needed the grade and rationalized everything as old building settling sounds and trick of shadows. On my final night in the darkroom, I developed what would be my last roll of film from that basement. When the images appeared in the developer, my blood turned cold. Every single photograph contained multiple figures, dozens of them, all staring directly at the camera. But the most terrifying part was the final image on the roll, a clear photograph of me working in that very dark room, taken from behind. But I had been completely alone. I never returned to that building, and I switched my major the next semester. Some projects aren't worth completing. Which story scared you the most? Was it the scratching in the walls, the phantom tenant, or the ghostly photography project? Comment below and let me know which basement horror story gave you the most chills. Don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying true stories that will keep you up at night. And remember, sometimes the scariest places are the ones right beneath our feet.